Oh, right. So, we're gonna have a little chat out here on the porch because it's raining aggressively. If you look over here behind me, you see our garden's a bit flooded. I haven't planted anything in it yet because you're supposed to wait till after Easter. Um, we're technically past the frost date, but a lot of folks around here always say wait till after Easter. But I need to add some dirt to it because the way the yard is sloped right there, it's really nice. But in that one kind of cross middle section, you might be able to see it, but it's a little low in the middle of the garden, diagonally across it, so it needs a little bit of dirt added to it. But anyway, this is going to be a bit of a rant video because I've had some unfortunate encounters here lately, and I'm going to try to tell you the ones that I can remember, and I'm going to try not to cuss as much because mainly I shouldn't do that anyway, and it's also Sunday, so I'm going to try to be chill uh, and try to be a little more artful in how I describe the stuff. I might slip a few in there, but I'm going to try. All right. Anyway, uh, so uh, here recently, I saw the video where I went. Told you I got some tires for the Knox trailer, and I was all happy about that. What I didn't go into detail was that gentleman, when I got there, had a barn just filled to the brim of all kinds of crap. Now, a good portion of it was crap, but there was also some three wheelers in there, and some street bikes, and some dirt bikes, and just kind of a smattering of random crap. There were some engines and transmissions, and rolls of carpet, and all kinds of stuff. So, let's set the stage here for you, all right? Because this is critical. Um, I said, he goes, everything you see in here, I got to get every bit of this out. I need all of it, every single thing out of here, because he has the grand original idea of doing a barn dominium. Anyway, so he's like, we got to get all this out of here. The people I bought this land from was supposed to get all this out. They've had over a year to do it. They refuse. They won't do it. And now it's all mine, and I don't want any of it. And here's the key part, it's worth absolutely nothing to me. I do not want it. I hate it. And I don't want it. And I'm like, well, do you care if I look around at it? There might be something out there I want. I've got some old motorcycles, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sure, go look all you want. So I got there and looked. Walk out there, I see a Honda bike. I'm not a four stroke guy, I like two strokes. I can appreciate a decent four stroke, but it doesn't get my juices flowing like an old two stroke does. All right, but my brother, he likes Honda, 70s model Honda, you know, SLs and XL, all that kind of crap. So anyway, there's one up there. I knew it was one similar to one he had or the same model as one he had. So I'm like, well, what about this one here? Well, what will you give me for it? And see, this is where we already know it's going to deteriorate because uh, you start. It's. I have a tendency to blame it on a certain generation that will be. We're not going to go into it. All right, we're not going to get into it. But in my experience, there's a certain generation of people out there that behave this way. All right, and it's not the ones older than this generation, and it's not the ones younger than this generation, but there is a certain generation. All right, you can fill in the gaps on which one maybe it is for you. It could be different generation for you than it is for me, but for me, it's this one generation. But without making people upset, uh, this gentleman was of that generation. Anyway, he what do you give me for it? And I said, well, I mean, I don't know, buddy. I said, it's in pretty bad shape. It's missing its side cover. The pipe's rotted through. It's missing the seat. Uh, you know, it's there's no telling how bad a shape it's actually in if we can be able to get it running without having to rebuild the top end or the bottom end. You don't know. He's just leaned up in a bar. Well, what do you give me for it? What do you give me for it? I'm like, well, I don't know, buddy. What do you want for it? Why don't you just tell me? I'm sure you got a number in mind. And he will not do it. Sorry, the's going to be cars coming by periodically during our during our front porch chat. All right. Anyway, so we kind of go back and forth on this, and I kind of move off of that, and he's got some other stuff in there, and there's a nice air compressor in the back. Oh, what do you want for that air compressor? What do you give me for it? It's that. It's just over and over and over. All right. I don't know why people have come to the conclusion that this is the way to negotiate or to get more money for something. Because this is my experience. All right. They have this thing that they preferenced with. I hate it. It's worth nothing to me. It is garbage. It is actual garbage. That's what he referred to this stuff in front of me repeatedly. Somebody called him, what are you doing? I'm just showing this garbage to this guy. All right. I mean, so this is what he called it. He even went as far as to tell me it's worth absolutely nothing to me. I just want it gone. Okay. Repeatedly. But what do you want for it? I don't know. I don't have any idea what it's worth. That goes back to the certain generation thing that I was ranting about a minute ago. We don't know what it's worth. I said, well, that's arbitrary. It's completely up to basically whoever wants it. So this motorcycle, I told him this to his face. I'm like, this motorcycle, I could find you one on there running for $1,200. You could find one on there in better shape than this one for $800. You could find it on there for $300. You could find it on there for $5,000. It's arbitrary. And the worse condition it is, the more arbitrary it is. All right. This bike in tip-top shape, pushed against the wall, you probably could get $1,500 to $1,700 for. You could get on it, ride it to New Mexico. All right, you'd probably get around $1,500 to $1,700 for it. Maybe it helps it that it's a Honda because the Honda fanboys, but it's still in the grand scheme of the world. There's not that many people that care about a 1973 Honda anything. Okay, like in the grand, there's people like me, people like my brother, some one-off weirdos here and there. But the guy that lives in your cookie cutter HOA neighborhood doesn't give a flying tinker's, well, we're trying not to cuss, McGee, all right? He doesn't care about the Honda, all right? He doesn't care. Let's just be honest. He's not even allowed to have the Honda in his HOA. He's going to ask permission on what color black he's allowed to paint his mailbox, all right? So he's not allowed to even have the Honda if he wanted it, okay? But regardless. So it's a niche group, let's say. It's niche. And then, there's a lot when you look at nationwide, but we're talking about like in this area, it's niche, all right? He will not give a price. He will not do it. And I said, well, I mean, I have no idea the condition. It's missing quite a few major components here. But $100. That wasn't the end all be all thing. He won't give a number. All right. Now, I suppose, in my experience, what the best way to categorize this kind of situation is he thinks, or people that do this tactic think, that if they say, what will you give me for it? In their mind, they think that the regular traveler is going to slip and say $72,000 or something. I don't know what they think because they're obviously trying to get the most they can. All right, that's fine. I got no problem with that. But if they think they're going to do it by, like, in reality, he would have took $75, but he's thinking that if he makes me say a number first, that I'm going to say something outrageously high, he's sadly mistaken. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go tragically low. Considering that it's trash, it's worth nothing to him, it's literal garbage that I do not want. Was supposed to be hauled off by the previous owners. It's a thorn in his side, as Paul says in the New Testament. It's a thorn in his side. He has to bear it every day. All right. So I just figured If he got anything for it, he'd be happy. Plus, he's being difficult to deal with, so I'll just throw 100. Oh no, no, come on, son. What in the world? What? No, what? What? Come on, what? That's immediate reaction. So what that means is he has a number. He knows what number he wants. He just won't. It's a secret. Shh, you can't know. It's a secret. You're all I know. Nobody knows why. I thought the goal was to get rid of the actual garbage, but it's a secret. Can't know what the garbage is worth. So he still won't give me the answer. I know it's worth more than that. And then the real story kicks out. I had a guy come out here just the other day, and he's a scrap man, all right? And he said some of this stuff is worth a lot of money, okay? It is. It's worth a lot because the guy that's going to haul it to the scrap yard says it is. That guy, all right? He's like, and he was going to make me an offer on everything in this barn, all of it. And I was like, well, yeah, well, what did he offer you? Well, he ain't done that yet. I'm like, well, yeah, of course he hasn't because, he doesn't want it. Because a real scrap man will come in there and say, whatever, I'll give you $2,000 for everything in the barn. I'll haul it all off. I'll give you $2,000 for everything that's metal in the barn. If he's a scrap man, he don't want the carpet, all right? He don't want the plastic. He don't want any of that crap. He wants the metal. So he would haul off the metal. Well, he didn't do that. So the guy that I'm dealing with, he said he was going to go home and research it. And I said, research what? This motorcycle that's missing its tank, its seat, its airbox, its crankcase cover, the carburetor, the top end, and the rear wheel? He's going to research that? How's he going to research that? How exactly do you come up with a line item chart on what the value of a 1973 something other is that's missing 3/4 of its major components? Where's that chart at? Does Kelly Blue Book have a chart for that? Can you do it by line item when it's missing major components like head missing, cylinder missing, side cover missing, points cover missing, entire rear ass end assembly? Oh, see, I cuss. See, I'm getting wound up. Whole assembly missing. Does it have that on there? No, it doesn't. It's arbitrary. It's arbitrary. That's the point. It's worth something. All right. I say 100. No, no. The scrap man said this bike in particular is worth more. It's got to be worth more than 200. It could be parted out for that. That's another thing. The Phantom, it could be parted out for more argument. You want to talk about a straw man argument. You want to talk about just based in nothing in the land of make believe. All right? I've got such and so, I've got X item. Together, it's worth nothing. If I spend 5 years, I could part it out for more than I could sell it for whole. Lots of times that's true. But lots of times, folks don't have the patience, the knowledge, the wherewithal, or the ability, or the time to spend 3 to 5 years parting out said item so that they could scrape up an extra couple $100 5 years from now that you'll never know because it was spread out over half a decade. All right? Generally, it's a little bit easier unless you're running a high end operation and all you do is sell parts to just sell the thing whole. All right? And this guy, worshipped the ground in which this alleged scrap man walked on. Well, the scrap man said, if I had a nickel for every time the guy told me, the scrap man said, well, I could have bought everything in the barn, I could have bought the property for how many times I had to hear about this phantom scrap man that had bought precisely nothing at the time in which I was having to hear about it. All right? So I go back and forth about the motorcycle, and then a little bit later I said, well, what do you want for it? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want for the motorcycle? I don't know. I just know it's worth more than 100. I said, that's fine. You wouldn't give a number. I'm just trying to get a number. Tell me the number. Oh, I don't know. I guess I'd take 200 for him. I talked to the scrap man. I had to call the scrap man and ask him what he thought about it. And at this point, I'm getting a little bit hot because I'm like, I said this to the man. I said, I was under the impression that you own the items, not the scrap man. I don't care what the scrap man thinks it's worth. I'm talking to you. You own the crap. I'm trying to figure out what you want for it. To hell with the scrap man. I don't know what he has to do with anything. And he ain't here. And he ain't bought anything. So why are we worried about what the scrap man says? You know? If ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. Who cares what the scrap man says? You know? Well, this guy does. The guy with the Honda cares about what the scrap man says. Apparently, he's got like a, I don't know, some kind of altar to him in his living room. I don't know. I mean, he thought the world of this man that he didn't know 25 minutes before. You know, like the scrap man. Talked about him like he's Stonewall freaking Jackson or something. I mean, he's just, we got to do what the scrap man says. Over and over, I got to call the scrap man. Then he calls me back, the guy that owns the Honda. I know this is hard to follow, but it's worth it. All right. He calls me back. I tried calling the scrap man. He wouldn't answer. I'm like, well, I mean, that's great, but you own it. So what do you want for it? Well, I don't know. I need to talk to the scrap man first. I'm not exaggerating. This is how it went. Okay, over and over. Uh, so during the middle of this, I said, "Well, what do you want for the air compressor?" Well, I don't know. Them things are real valuable. Them are real valuable. They could be real valuable. They could be hypothetically. I don't want it. It's worth nothing to me. That's what he said. He said that. He said that in the middle of the conversation, which is not a good way to negotiate. All right. It's not good generally to just like casually mix that in there that the stuff I'm trying to sell you hate and it's worth nothing to you. All right. I'm gonna light this back up. All right. I gotta take a breath in the middle, and by breath I mean inhale this cigar. Not only inhale. You gotta be like Bill Clinton. I did smoke the cigar, but I didn't inhale. You know, you gotta just chill. All right. Anyway. All right. I think we've established how irritating this whole thing was. He says the air compressor could be worth a lot of money. I said, well, it could be. We don't know if it's any good. We don't know if the motor on it's any good. We don't know if the cylinder head's. Well, the scrap man says that it turns over, and I said, well, that's good. That's a good sign. That doesn't mean that the motor is any good, and that doesn't mean that just because it turns over doesn't mean that the pump head's any good, and neither one of those mean that the tank doesn't have holes all in the bottom of it, which is kind of hard to check without getting some air in it, you know, unless it's obvious holes in the bottom of it. Oh, this building doesn't leak, son. It ain't. This building doesn't leak. I said, I ain't worried about the building leaking. They condense water when they run, and then you know lots of folks never drain them, and so it rots them out from the inside. Well, this building doesn't leak. I mean, that's serious. That's how it went over and over. So I've had about enough of the guy. I bought the tires for the Knox trailer. That was a good deal. Those are good tires. I like that. And that's the other thing is certain people what they value and don't value is so strange. So like the tires he sold to me at a really good price, $100 for them 4 tires. Couldn't have bought them tires for $100 anywhere, and they're practically brand new. I didn't come up with that price. He priced them like that. So he values the tire that appeals to a way wider audience at basically nothing. But things in there that are literal trash, as his words call it, that could be worth a lot of money. So finally, I'm like, you know what? Well, I'll talk to my brother, see if he even wants this Honda anyway, and then you figure out what you want for the compressor in the meantime. All right. Well, I'll think about it. I don't know. I don't know. It's worth a lot of money. It's worth. I know that. And the woman said that it ran. She said it ran. Now I don't know how long ago that's been. That could have been 50 years ago. But she said that it ran. And I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, this is what I said. I said, I'm sure it did. I said, I'm sure she was telling the truth when she said that it ran. I said, but the part is that sometimes old timers get mixed up on time scales. Like, for example, if you go back on my channel, you'll find a video called Willie's Pulled from the Grave. That truck, the old man that I bought that truck from told me that truck had been sitting there for 4 years. Four, count them, four. No more, no less. Four, exactly four. How many? That's right, John Doe, four. That's how many he said. All right? Well, you can clearly see in the video that it had been sitting there for more like 40. Okay? And then I got that assumption corroborated by the tree growing in the bed of it, the RC Cola bottle from 1972 in the bed of it, and from another gentleman that lived on up the road that I bought some Jeep parts from, who said he tried to buy that very Jeep truck from this old man in the late 70s. All right, so that's 40 plus years. It's been sitting there, okay? But this gentleman said it had been sitting there 4 years. He meant that, but his time scale's jacked. He don't know what he's talking about, all right? It's not intentional lies sometimes. Sometimes they just a little detached from reality, all right? Anyway, so this guy keeps harping. Oh, that compressor, it probably runs. It probably does. I don't know. Maybe it does. It probably should. I think it will. I'm like, well, I mean, it might. It probably will, but I don't know. And that doesn't mean that the tank's good. It doesn't mean the pump head's more likely fine, but it's the electric motors up in question, and they're high dollar to replace. Because it's a good size pump head. It takes a good size electric motor to turn her over, all right? I talked to my brother. He says he's interested in the Honda, depending on what the guy actually says it'll take for it. I call the guy back. He says, I talked to the scrap man, his hero. He talked to him, and he says that the bike's worth well over 200. But I mean, don't let me stand in the way. I haven't made you an offer on anything. If this guy wants that Honda or anything else, then they're selling to him. So the scrap man gave permission to the man that actually owns the items in the barn, which means, because he wasn't going to sell me anything, because he didn't have permission from the scrap man. This is how this went. I swear to you, it's how it happened. All right. If y'all don't believe me, I'll get Brittany and somebody, and my brother on here. Don't vouch for it. All right. This is how it went. All right. So he goes, well, I said 200 earlier. I'll do 150. And I'm like, well, whatever. That was arbitrary, okay, whatever. I said, well, my brother wants to look at it before he agrees to buy it. Because I didn't look over it that good. I just knew roughly that it was something he wanted. It was dark. I didn't get to look at it that good. All right. So me and my brother go back over there. We look at it. We pull the bike up. It's missing the whole crankcase cover on the other side. I knew it was missing two covers on this side. I didn't know it was missing the whole crankcase cover on the right-hand side. Well, that sucks. But it's got the keys, which is nice. And it ends up being a what is it? XL 350, 73, or SL 350, XL. I don't know. I have CZs. Anyway, so my brother gets in, and then we get to looking around. We get a few more small things. I found a Donald Duck piggy bank in there, a milk jar from a company that was in Rossville, Georgia, that used to deliver milk to places, and that was nifty. And I found an air hose and all this kind of stuff. And some stuff he was like ridiculously reasonable on, and then other stuff he was just unnaturally argumentative for no reason. While the entire time this is going on, saying that it's trash and he just wants it gone. My God, I just wish I could get it gone out of here while we're standing there with hundreds of dollars in our hands trying to buy the things from him. All right? So we get the motorcycle, get a few things that time, spend like $400 with it. Ended up making a deal on the air compressor. My brother did that because I couldn't deal with it anymore. I was getting emotional. I couldn't deal with it. I can't stand dealing with mealy mouth men that are double my age that refuse to act like an adult. I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. You know what you want. You're allegedly wiser than me. You're allegedly all these things. You're supposed to be. So act like it. What do you want for the thing you deem as trash? It's a real easy question. Well, finally my brother just says, throw some numbers out. We finally come up to it. We get the air compressor. And it was a nightmare to get it out of this barn. It was a nightmare. because there's so much crap in the way. We can't get in there to it. So me and him are fighting it for like an hour trying to get it up on the trailer because it's just a nightmare. Now it's sitting out there in my shop. I got to do some work to it, gonna do some stuff to it, rewire part of it. It does run, but I'm gonna have to do. The rats have eaten all the wires and all kinds of crap. It's gonna be an ordeal, but we'll get it hopefully dialed in, and it should be all right. It needs to be painted because it's got surface rust all over it. It's from 1976, I think, 74 or 76. It's a Campbell Hausfeld. It's back when they were actually a decent company. It's a horizontal tank. It's got a big pump head on it. It's a fairly nice compressor, but we bought it completely unknowing in this barn in the dark, So we lucked out on it. It appears. Well, so keep in mind, I bought the tires from him, so that's $100. We spent another like $400 the day we got the Honda and the air compressor. All right. So some money's changed hands. We've showed up every time, on time, did everything we said we were going to do, did all that. We go back a third time because he told us about this other building that may or may not have something in it. He bought this property and he doesn't know what's on it. You go, what's in that building? I don't know. That's literally what we say, I don't know. Well, what do you think's in it? I don't know. Could be carpet, could be other stuff. I don't know. Well, I mean, that's weird. That's weird as hell right there. I don't know what's there. I mean, there could be the Ark of the Covenant. I don't know. Could be the Holy Grail. Ark of the Covenant, the Spear of Destiny. Could be the UFO they found at Area 51. I don't know what's in there. Could be a Pilates machine. Could be anything. I don't know what's in the building. Or it could be carpet. I mean, that's a hell of a dichotomy. You don't know what it is. It could be a 500-pound hay Boudin anvil. All right? It could be a Plymouth tractor from 1938 or whatever. It could be anything. DeSoto. Could be anything. Actually, it's just a building with carpet in it. But he left it open-ended. So that's why we even went back. Because we didn't really care about much left in the building because we knew it was going to be a nightmare to try to deal with him. But we're like, well, what if there's something in this building? No, it's just, there was shit. Excuse me. Sorry, but it was just shit. It was just shit in there. So, we go back into the main barn. He tells us again about how other people have said that things in there are worse stuff. But this woman that he knew stole a lot of things from him from this barn. And that's why stuff's missing parts, is because she stole all the parts. I'm like, yeah, because that makes sense. A woman walked into this ancient barn and saw a Honda three-wheeler sitting there with a box of parts sitting beside it and said to herself, you know what, I'm going to steal that box of parts because there ain't nothing more valuable in this world than some like random bolts and the pull cord off of a Honda three-wheeler. I mean, that's just, come on. It just doesn't make any sense. And the fact that this barn had a layer of dust in it everywhere, nothing had been moved. It was obvious nothing had been moved because there's 8 inches of dust on everything. And when you move stuff around in there, it's obvious what's been moved because the dust is disturbed and there's drag marks in the ground. There's nothing been moved, okay? It's a communist lie. There's nothing been moved, all right? Anyway. So, go back in there, and there's 3 three-wheelers in progressively worse shape. Like, one's moderately complete. It's still only missing the ignition cover, the pull rope, the seat, the rear rack. All the tires are trash. It's missing the motor mount bolts. It's missing all the brake levers. But it's the most complete. Then you got one beside it that's got a tank. All that's missing. It's missing the top end, the head, everything. The timing chain's just laying out on the ground. The tires are shit. All right. Then the third one's got no tank, no seat, no tires. It's got a front tire. It's got no rear tires. It's trash. All right. It's trash. All right. We're like, what do you want for those 3 three-wheelers? All 3 of them. What do you want for them? You can't build one three-wheeler out of the 3. Okay? You can't because there's not enough parts there. And each one is just different enough from the other one to where there's not a lot of overlap. Like 2 of them over here are different sizes but different years. And then this one's a smaller one. But even though 2 that are the same size are different year models enough to where a lot of the parts aren't going to overlap, and none of them have the parts anyway. So there's like, uh, but my brother's got some stuff, so he's thinking that maybe we could get one running. Maybe. That's a big maybe. All right. He won't give us the price. What do you want from him? I don't know. What do you want? I don't know. What do you want? I don't know. I mean, it's like playing cards with my brother's kids. It's ridiculous. It's BS. It's chili cheese. It's what it is. Finally, once again, not because we really think this or anything. I'm just tired of playing the game. My brother's like, $100 for all three. They're missing almost everything that matters. I'm like, $100. What, you won't give a number. We're just throwing a number out to get the conversation started. Oh God, no. Son, what are you doing to me? Oh my Lord, no. What in the world? I posted one of them three-wheelers on my website, which I don't know what the hell that means. What was he got? I won't tell you the price, but you can beg.com. I mean, what does that mean? What's his website? I guess he means marketplace. I guess he owns Facebook. I was buying three-wheelers from Mark Zuckerberg. Anyway, it's all right. It's calm. It's fine. It's fine. It's Sunday. Calm down. Bring it down, Regulate Traveler. Light your cigar. It's fine. Everything's fine. It's fine. Anyway, it's breathing techniques. Okay? Breathing techniques. Anyway, he goes, I posted one of them on there, and I had like 100 people say they wanted that three-wheeler. They wanted it. Sure enough. And I was like, well, I mean, I said, they're probably not aware of how much it's missing, It's hard to tell in a picture in the dark, like how much is here or not. He goes, hey, I've got a buddy down the road. He said he'd give me 100 just for that one. And I said, well, where's he at? He ain't bought it, has he? He's not here right now, is he? Well, no, but he said he would. Once again, this goes back to if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. He's not there. And so I said, listen, nobody's trying to insult you or anything. I said, but it's worth noting that we've spent a good bit of money with you, and we've showed up, and we've gotten stuff out of your way, which is what you said was your ultimate goal. And we've moved things, and I said, we got that compressor yesterday, and you know how hard that was. Not just anybody could have got that air compressor. He goes, I know that. He goes, you mentioned that. He goes, my neighbor down the road's real mad that I sold you that air compressor. And I said, really, is that a fact? He goes, oh yeah, he's real mad. He said he wanted it. He told me he wanted it. He goes, you know what? He goes, I gave him over a year to come get it. He never would come get it. He's proven my damn point. Right there. His neighbor wouldn't even come 150 yards to come get the air compressor, but he's telling me about hypotheticals where somebody else maybe would give him money for the air compressor. Are you hearing me, people? Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Do you hear me, K. John, Brian Poole, Matt J., John Doe, Country Marshall? Do you hear me? Are you hearing me? In the back, do you hear these kind of just ridiculous? Ridiculous. All right? The guy that lives 3 feet from my house says he wanted it bad, and he had 2.5 decades to come get it, but he never did. So, I don't know what these people want. That's what the guy that told him he'd give him $100 for the three-wheeler. That's that guy, too. You know it is. They're all the same. I've sold enough stuff. If you have 100 people show interest in an item, you're lucky if 2 out of that 100 actually show up. You're lucky if you get 2 out of 100. All right? Lucky. All right? And I said, well, then what do you want? I said, give you 150 for all three. I said, they're in horrendous condition. I mean, they really are. But, there's enough, and we've got other parts that we might be able to cobble one together, maybe, without having to spend an additional $1,000. We're taking a pretty big risk because we don't know, the timing chain could be sheared in them. There's a reason why they've been taken all apart. The top ends are bad. We might have to rebuild the cylinder, hone it out, put a new piston in it. We don't know. The bottom ends could be trash. All we know is they turn over. And people have it in their mind, if something turns over, that means it'll run. That ain't what it means. It can. Oftentimes it can. But then other times, it means that it's worn slap out, is what it means. Okay? He says no on the 150. He wants 200 for all three-wheelers. So we're like, you know what, whatever, fine, fine. So we get the three-wheelers, and then as we roll them out and put them on the trailer, we're immediately regretting that we just gave this man $200 for this trash because, I mean, the more you get them out in the daylight, the more you look at them, the worse they get. I mean, they're horrible. They're probably still worth the 200, but it's not going to be easy to get rid of them without getting at least one of them running or trying to part them out or something. We shouldn't have bought them. Bottom line. Um, but the one was pretty decent, so we might be able to do something with it. Maybe. It's all a maybe. The reason why all this is aggravating, excuse me, the reason why this is all aggravating is he got progressively harder to deal with the more money we spent with him. All right? We spent hundreds of dollars with him and he got greedy, is what happened. He got greedy. He'll tell you that it's trash, it's not worth nothing, then he gets greedy when you give him money. It should be the opposite. He should be glad that two young men are taking time out of their day to come buy this, that 99% of the world population wouldn't give him a plug nickel for it. Nothing. Wouldn't give them anything. You could say you could have everything in this barn, and they go, no, I want a chai latte, and I want to play Fortnite. That's what they'd say. All right? They go smoke their dank weed and go play Fortnite. They don't care about remnants of Honda three-wheelers. All right? So just the fact we're there trying to buy this stuff is worth, just an untold amount. All right? And the fact we've shown up, we bought the crap, we're loading it up, we're not having to make him wait, we're loading it up while we're there, giving him the money right then. All of it, all on the up and up. And he won't. And I'm not talking about I want it for free. I'm just saying, my God, stop saying it's shit and you don't want it if you're not going to sell it to us at any price. Some of the stuff he never even gave us a price. He wouldn't give us a price on anything. You tell him, bro, he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't tell you anything. He wouldn't even counter back. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? I don't know what. The reason why this gets me is because this is like 95% of my experiences trying to buy anything. I have hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands of dollars. They will not give it up. But they'll tell you they don't want it while they won't give it up. It makes no sense. What I'm trying to say is if you're listening to this and you're one of these people, change your ways. Stop it. Stop it right now. If you have a building full of trash, if you have a Willys truck rotting in a field, or a Honda three-wheeler, or a Pilates machine, or whatever, and it's just sitting there, and you say to yourself, I really don't like it. You turn to your wife and you go, you know what, Jezebel, I don't like that vehicle sitting out in our yard. I believe it's trash. I think we should haul it to the scrapyard, and you say that. And then somebody like me comes walking up and go, hey, what do you want for that truck, sir? Would you be willing to sell it? That's not time for you to go, I want $52,000 like Dr. Evil. It just doesn't make any sense. By anybody other's metric, you would say that it was trash and it was in your way and you didn't want it. So why, just because now somebody says, hey, I'd like that, that means that you've got to be just like financially like the Monopoly man. You just got to go insane with rage and envy. Why? It doesn't make any sense. Don't be like that. Change yourself. Stop it. Because what happens in these situations, everybody says, well, what happened to all the square bodies and all the old Fords and all the Model A's and all the Willys trucks? I'll tell you what happened. So you want to know? I'll tell you what happened. The Breakaway Traveler will tell you what happened. There was a guy, not that far from me, where I grew up, who had an ass ton of Willys trucks and wagons and Jeeps and parts everywhere for him. And he wouldn't sell them to anybody. And he hoarded them up. And they were everywhere. And they were rotting in the woods. And he told me that he drove all of them in there and he parked them in the woods on purpose because they didn't rust as bad in the woods. That's what he said. He was horribly wrong, but that's what he said. And he said, I drove every one of them in here. Every one of them ran, but like that one over there that's got the hole in the block. But all the other ones run. And I drove them in here and parked them right there. And I'm like, well, what do you want for this one right here? That's in, like worth nothing. I mean, it genuinely is worth, if this is a regular traveler talking, saying it's worth nothing. I love Willys Jeeps, all right? And even I can recognize this is bad. This is real bad. And he's like, $2,000. Well, this was like 8 years ago or 6 years ago when he says this, And I just stand there looking at him. And he's like, that's a real good truck right there. You could have thrown a Fisher Price, like you could have hooked a toddler in a Fisher Price little car on the other side of the truck, ran a jump rope around through the windows of the cab, and had that little kid pedal on that Fisher Price car and pulled the whole damn cab off the frame. That's how bad it was, and he would have probably broke the frame. The little toddler could have if he really got into it. All right. And he's standing there demanding $2,000. Well, what happens in this story? You're like, Red Clay Traveler, you're rambling. Calm down, smoke your cigar. All right? No, don't tell me how to calm down. All right? Anyway, he died, unfortunately. And what ended up happening, from what I could tell, his wife was still alive, but she was very elderly and in bad shape. People snuck in onto their property and started hauling those trucks and wagons and cars and all that, selling them on Marketplace and hauling some of them to the scrapyard, and they robbed them blind while she was living on the property. Okay? Because it was more important to let him rot away and leave him to his wife that he was basically estranged from, but he lived on the property with her. I don't know the details. I don't care. I'm just saying nobody else around was going to be able to deal with all these trucks and stuff, and he could have sold them not just to me, but to other people. Could have bought them for parts, could have sold them years ago. He didn't. He hoarded them up, and about probably half of them ended up in the scrapyard, and the rest of them were sold illegally behind his wife's back, along with all his other stuff, and nobody achieved anything except for a bunch of trucks got destroyed and some crackheads made some money. And that's what achieved out of this. That's happened over and over and over and over and over. You got some guy that's got a nice collection of Jeeps or tractors or hit miss engines or whatever, and he hoards it up his whole life. None of his children are interested in it. None of his grandchildren are interested in it. For various reasons. I personally think it's a failure of not introducing children to certain things. You know, like I was introduced to certain things through my brother and grandfather and stuff, and that's why I like the shit that I like, because people showed it to me. I didn't just wake up one day and be like, you know what? I really like Willie's Jeeps. That's just an odd thing. So anyway, they die. Their kids sell it for nothing, or the more common, they haul it to the scrapyard because that's easier than trying to sell it. That's where all of it's went. And then you've got the rest of it's been cut into pieces and chopped and lowered and tubbed and shaved and all that kind of crap. So that cuts out a good portion of what's left. And then you've got the little bit over here that people think is worth $250,000 because they watched Pawn Stars on the History Channel and they said that this is worth that. And so then they base their whole life off of that. That's why. If you go on Marketplace right now, try to find a 90s model Chevrolet. Try to find a 90s model Chevrolet with less than 300,000 miles on it for like under $8,000. I'm saying like most of them have 300,000 plus on them, and they want $8,000 for them. At least in Georgia, they do. So it's like, think about that. Think about that. When the new truck is $100,000 and it's trash, then they're going to go back to the old days and the old Fords. And I don't know why anybody paid money for a Ford, but regardless, the old Fords, the old Chevys, the old Dodges, they're worth more than they're getting up to the level they were when they were brand new. And they're not even 50 years old. All right? People are getting insane. They're getting on, they're smoking toot or whatever it is the kids say these days. I don't know what they're doing. The Fortnite has went to their brains. All right? I've got two 90s model Chevrolet. There's one behind the camera right there. I love them. I love them deeply. All right? Is that truck right there truly worth $8,000? That truck doesn't even have 200,000 miles on it. It's got some rust in the body. Interior needs a little bit of work. According to Marketplace in the greater Georgia area, that truck right there is probably worth close to $9,000. Yeah. Which, if that's true, I probably should sell it. But that's not the point. The point is that's insane. We all know that truck ain't worth $9,000. But then it's in retrospect compared to the modern truck that's trash in almost in every conceivable way. That's 100,000 or 80,000 or 60,000. $9,000 for a 90s model truck seems pretty good. They're easier to work on, less electronics, more reliable, greater provable longevity. So, I mean, it ends up making more sense. If you ask me, if I had unlimited money, if YouTube hits it big and the regular traveler does where he wants, I wouldn't be buying new trucks. I'd be buying old ones, just like I do right now while I'm poor, you know? So, I'm just saying, don't be these people. If you're one of them old men that sit around and you complain about how these young kids all they do is smoke their dang queen and they don't give a damn about the old ways, well, that's true for most of us. There's a lot of them that don't care. There's a lot of them, but there's a lot more of them that care than you think, and it makes it real hard on us when we're trying to keep the old stuff and we're into the old stuff. When you make it as difficult as humanly possible. Nobody's asking you to give the shit away. Nobody's asking for that. But just act like a human being, for just a second. That's all I'm saying. That truck in that video, Willie's truck pulled from a grave, that old timer had a first year production CJ5 sitting there in the rain, and it was amazing. All right? Its soft top had finally deteriorated, and it was filling the tub up with water and pine straw. And pine straw is acidic, children. It's acidic. It will rot that tub fast. You might as well be pouring lemon juice in it. All right? And I said, what do you want for that CJ5 right there? What do you want for it? Oh, it's not for sale, son. I said, well, what do you want for it? Why don't you tell me? What do you want? Oh, my daddy bought that new back in the day, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, that's really cool. It's a shame it's sitting in the rain rotting away. What do you want for it? Well, I'm going to give it to my grandson. I said, well, that's real cool. Can I push it into that building right there beside it that's got nothing in it so that it doesn't rot away? Oh, no, son, I'm going to get out there and work on it. Keep in mind, he's only 92, so he's pretty spry. He's going to get out there and he's going to restore the CJ5, all right? Well, when I showed up to get the second Willie's truck in that series of videos, I went in there and I turned to that old man because I knew it was probably going to be the last time I ever saw him, and I liked him. His name was, I think it was Dole. Anyway, he was nice, and I said, I'm not trying to be too pushy with you, but while I'm here, I'm just going to do it. I said, I got $6,000 in cash out there in the truck. I will give it to you for that CJ5 right now. I don't even know if the engine's stuck or not. I never even turned the fan blade. I don't care. The body's in too good a shape. It's a first year production. That's a rare Jeep, and I want to save it. And he goes, well, that's too much money anyway, son. That's way too much money for that Jeep. Because, but even still, I'm going to give it to my grandson. And I said, well, what if you gave your grandson $6,000 in cash? Would he like that? He goes, well, he probably would. But he likes the old stuff too, just like you do. And I hope that's true. I really do. But why are we letting it rot away in the rain? And I know some of y'all are over there, you're why do you care, Reckless Traveler? It's his Jeep. He can do whatever he wants. I don't like stupid shit. That's why. That's why. He has a freedom to rot that Jeep away, just like I have a freedom to get on this YouTube channel and complain about the stupidity of that. Alright? That's why. So deal with it. Anyway, $6,000 for a Jeep that he inherited that he didn't even care about as far as like because his daddy owned it. He didn't care about that. He just kept saying about how much, then he wanted me to work on it. And I said, can I just push it into the building? He had a real nice shop sitting there. I'm like, can I just push it into the shop, please? I'm like, that tub's going to be rotted away within 2 years if you leave it sitting where it's at. And he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't let me push that Jeep out of the rain. And I guarantee you that if I drove up there right now, pulled in his driveway, that Jeep would be sitting in the exact damn spot it was at the time that that video was filmed. I guarantee it. I would bet anything that it is. Last I heard, that gentleman's still alive. So I think about it from time to time that I'll call him up and be like, hey, are you going to sell me that CJ5 yet or not? What's the deal? But then I remember how much rage I get and how I end up having to make these videos periodically to release the rage. And I try to be, deadpan, dark sense of humor, but still overly entertaining and positive for the channel. That's what I try to do. But this has been the first of, maybe if y'all like this kind of stuff, maybe they won't always be rant videos, but this has been the first generation of the Front Porch Southern Homestead rant slash, we don't have a fire here, but we could say fireside chat. Um, if you look behind me, we've got some onions growing over here. We've got some muncher cucumbers over there. Over here in this quadrant, we've got some straight 8 cucumbers. We got a blackberry. We got some big ass pumpkins over here. We got some squash. All kinds of stuff. All these plants right here. All right, and then we got pumpkins all right in here. So yeah, and strawberries. Those are strawberries out there. And then those are blackberries. Those are apple trees. Down through there, there's some raspberries down there. But anyway, I am the Red Clay Traveler, and I know this was a rambling rant video, but a lot of y'all tell me that you enjoy this kind of stuff from time to time. Now, I haven't done one in quite a long time, so I thought I'd do it, blow off some steam, might make me feel a little better. But anyway, I love you all deeply. I might try to edit out some of it, shorten it up just a touch. Y'all don't need to see how mentally unstable the Red Clay Traveler is. But anyway, I love you all deeply. Don't forget, don't be that guy that I described in this video. Don't be that guy. When a man asks you what you want for the thing that you call trash, tell that man a price. Don't send him over the edge. Don't make him go home and cry and tear out his blueberry plants. Don't do that. It's unnecessary. Even if the number's ridiculous, just give the man the number. Just say it. Just say it. It's so much easier than this little Monopoly game of, oh, I don't know. What do you give me for it? I don't know. What would you give me for it? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Be better than that. I love you all deeply. And I know none of y'all would do this anyway, because y'all wouldn't be watching the Red Clay Traveler if you did. But I'm just saying, if you ever see somebody doing it, you shout them out. You show them this video. I love you all deeply. Subscribe. Smash the subscribe button. Do it. Do it. Do it now. Smash it. Thank you. Bye.